Hey Hunters, Lord here, back with yet another World in Iceborne video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing my best to cover the best weapons that you should look out for or craft for each of the 14 weapon types in World in Iceborne. I'll do what I can to cover both raw and elemental options where it does apply, but do note that some weapons scale much better off of elemental, like dual blades or bow, and some weapons are typically best used with raw, like hammer or greatsword. Now, while there's nothing wrong with using raw dual blades or elemental hammer, I might be less inclined to include those options since they're not considered the best for that particular weapon type. Also, just a general preview of what the best armor is going to be. Typically for raw weapons, you'll be running some combination of 4 pieces of Fatalis armor along with another piece, like the Glaive beta legs or the Brachydios beta arms. This isn't always the case, but for the most part, this is what you're going to see in your endgame meta sets. The 5th piece, of course, will vary based on the weapon and your other needs, but 4 pieces of Fatalis armor is almost a 100% constant for most builds. As far as elemental builds go, 99% of the time, you'll be rocking with 5 pieces of Safajiva armor with a Kiar weapon. The only time this may change is that the Kiar weapons aren't always the best bowguns. Now, I do want to say that this video might get a little bit repetitive. Of course, I'll have timestamps that will let you skip straight to your weapon of choice, but a lot of the raw options and elemental options are very similar through all the weapon types. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started off with Longsword. For raw, the best option is going to be the Fatalis offering. It comes with insanely high raw purple sharpness, as well as 2 level 4 slots. Of course, it does have negative affinity, but this can easily be counteracted with Weakness Exploit, Crit Eye, Max Might Secret, Agitator Secret, as well as your augments. If you haven't made it to Fatalis yet, then either Safajiva's Shatterblade or the Goldorathian Longsword, as well as the Raging Brachydios Longsword, are all good endgame options until you, of course, beat Fatalis. As far as Elemental Longsword goes, and this is going to be the case with most melee weapons, for almost every element we're going to want the Kiar weapon that corresponds to that element. It's very simple. Up next is Greatsword, and there are a couple of very strong raw options. The best, of course, is once again going to be the Fatalis Greatsword. However, since Greatsword benefits massively from doing wake-up hits on sleeping monsters, a lot of players and many of my speedrunner friends utilize Safajiva's Dream Splitter. You can usually get 1 or 2 sleeps in a hunt, of course depending on the monster and the amount of players in that hunt, so getting an extra wake-up hit or 2 can mean some really big damage. Another option, again if you're not far enough along for Fatalis, is the Raging Brachydios Greatsword. Again, Elemental Greatsword is really not good, as Greatsword has extremely low elemental scaling, so you'll definitely get more mileage out of going for pure raw in almost all of your hunts. A side tip, if you like going for Frostcraft Greatsword, I'd highly recommend using any of the Safajiva Greatswords. This is due to their ability to be awakened for Velkhana Divinity, which will allow you to drop 1 Velkhana piece for Frostcraft and will get you much more damage out of your set. Moving straight onto Sword and Shield, the best option is, surprise surprise, the true Fatalis Sword. Shocker, I know, none of you expected this. Who am I kidding, you all knew it was coming. Get ready for more of this. Anyway, same reasonings as with the others, great raw, great sharpness, great slots, and the negative affinity is very easy to counteract. Again, if you're not too Fatalis, same as before, Safajiva's Shatterfang or the Raging Brachydios Sword and Shield are going to be your next best option. And again, if you're going for Elemental Sword and Shield, you'll just want to collect all the Kiar Elemental versions, and this is true again of pretty much every melee weapon. For dual blades, raw is nowhere near as good as element, so just get all 5 elemental Kiar dual blades and custom upgrade them for max element. For hammer, there's again going to be nothing new here that you haven't heard already. The Fatalis hammer is far and away the strongest raw option, and again, Safajiva's Shatter Crusher and the Raging Brachydios hammer are going to be your meta options until you beat Fatalis enough time to craft all 14 weapons and all 10 armor pieces. For raw Hunting Horn, again, the Fatalis Menace Wailer is going to be one of the top options for pure damage. However, yes, however, the Safajiva raw horns with either Sleep Blast or Poison have an edge on the Fatalis here, as they have interchangeable songs. You can awaken for multiple different melody sets, allowing you to have different horns with different songs that all deal the same damage. This is huge for versatility reasons, so crafting a couple Safajiva raw hunting horns will serve you very well in the endgame. For elemental horns, you guessed it, Kiar all the way. These are super good, and especially good for Water Dragon and Thunder. You could definitely get away with the Safajiva versions, or fire and ice if you wanted to, or if you happen to have those and you don't want to farm the Kiar. Moving into Lance, once again, the Fatalis Lance is an absolute menace. If you're actually watching through all of these and not just skipping to your favorite weapon, first of all, thank you, you're a saint, but secondly, I know you're getting tired of hearing how good the Fatalis weapons are, so just go ahead, pause the video, go boot up World, and make any Fatalis armor and weapons you haven't crafted yet. Once again, if you're not too Fatalis, I'd recommend for raw either Safajiva's Shattersnout or the Lightbreak Lance from Raging Bracky. Now, Elemental Lance is definitely not bad, and worth getting into if you have the desire to farm all 5 Kiar Elemental Lances. Now, Gun Lance is where things do get shaken up a little bit, as we have 3 different shelling types, which means we'll have at least 3 different options. So starting off with normal shelling, we have the White Knight Gun Lance from Frostfang Barioth. Obviously, we want that level 7 shelling, but this also has good raw, a nice chunk of purple sharpness that can easily be extended with handicraft, and positive affinity for those of you who are like me, where you enjoy full burst spam playstyle. You really just can't go wrong with this one. Moving on to wide shelling, your best gun lance is going to be the Lightbreak Gun Lance from Raging Brachidios. Again, level 7 shelling is going to be the best here. It has base purple sharpness, high raw, good blast status, and super nice slots. You really can't pick out a flaw in this weapon. Finally, for long shelling, I would recommend any Safajiva Gun Lance Awakened to have long shelling. This is since if you're playing long gun lance, you're not really going to be doing much attacking with your weapon, and Safajiva offers so much customizability with its awakens. Other than needing the long shelling awakening, you can really go for anything you want with this gun lance. Now, one final gun lance, if you don't want to shell and you just want to slap the monster, the obvious choice here is going to be the Fatalis Gun Lance. Up next is my personal favorite weapon, which is the Charge Blade. For Charge Blade, we have 2 playstyles to consider, which is either Savage Axe Pizza Cutter or the Caveman SAD Unga Bunga. For the raw options, both of these are actually won by the true Fatalis Charger. Again, the massive raw and purple sharpness just makes this weapon far and above the best raw option for both slinging files like a caveman and for Pizza Cutter playstyle. If you're not yet too Fatalis, of course, the best options are going to be Safajiva's Shatter Shield, the Lightbreak Charge Blade from Raging Bracky, or even the Gold Rathian Charge Blade. For Element, you'll be very happy to hear that the best options are the Kiar Charge Blades. This is true for every element except Dragon. With Dragon, the Elatrion Charge Blade is extremely good as well, and it actually has more element and insane amounts of purple sharpness than the Decay, but it doesn't get critical element. This and the Kiar Decay are practically interchangeable for SAD Caveman playstyle, since files can't crit. However, if you're going to be using Pizza Cutter Savage Axe, you'll definitely want to use the Kiar Decay for its innate crit element, as that matters a lot more for melee-focused style of Savage Axe. Up next is Switch Axe, and of course, both Power File and Power Element File are very viable options. For Power File, which is generally your raw option, the obvious choice is again to go for the true Fatalis End. It's the same reasoning as always, you don't need me to say it again. Some great secondary options for anything prior to Fatalis is Raging Bracky, Safajiva's Shatter Axe, or the Gold Rathian Switch Axe. Now for Power Element Files, obviously, you know it. Do I have to say it? Alright, I'll say it. It's all Kiar. Get all 5 Kiar Elemental Switch Axes, and you'll be golden forever. Kiar Fatalis, Kiar Fatalis, Fatalis Kiar. Am I sounding like a broken record yet? For Insect Glaive, let's first cover the top 3 Kinsects that you'll want to use. In World and Iceborne, the most key stat is the speed, as it lets your Kinsect move faster, allowing you to get extracts and buffs much quicker. Now starting out at number 3, we have the Nexus Dragon Soul, which is a little bit slower than the other 2, but has a really good power stat, and it's not that much slower that it'll kill you. Also, it just looks super cool. At number 2, we have the Valor Wing 3/4s, with a max speed stat of 20, pretty mid power at 10, and the Healing Dust effect. It also has blunt damage, so you can theoretically get a KO with it, or at least help your hammer or sticky hunter friends get KOs faster. Finally, the best Kinsect, at least in my opinion, is the Foliacath 3/4s, with top tier speed, 5 more power than the Valor Wing, Sever damage allowing it to help with tail cuts, and Blast Dust, meaning any cloud it leaves can be detonated for extra damage to the monster. For Insect Glaive as a weapon, for raw, we're going with the Fatalis Insect Glaive, obviously. I promise I'm just as tired of saying it as you guys are of hearing it. Some other great options include Raging Brachidios and Safi, as per usual. For Elemental Insect Glaive, you guys, I know you know this, but I have to say it anyway. It's all Kiar. Use the Kiar weapons for element. Now, up next is Light Bowgun, and we're finally getting some variety. For rapid fire ice, thunder, and fire, we'll actually be using the Elatrion Light Bowgun. The Kiar bowguns tend to have a problem where their recoil or reload is much higher than Elatrion, which is a big no-no in World and Iceborne, as getting recoil +1 is so much stronger. The one exception here, I would say, is that instead of using rapid fire ice, I would recommend single shot ice with the Kiar Thunder Light Bowgun. Yeah, you heard that right, the Thunder Kiar Light Bowgun for single shot ice. It's really strong. I would probably recommend this on almost every Ice Week monster instead of rapid fire ice because it's so good, but realistically, if you want to keep the amount of bowguns you need to make to a minimum, the Elatrion Light Bowgun is going to get you 3 of the 4 elements that you need to use, as dragon ammo is practically useless outside of a speedrun setting. The only non-Elatrion option for rapid fire is water, where we want to use Safajiva's Aqua Shot. Aqua Shot is the best light bowgun ever. It's extremely versatile, and I'd recommend picking up at least 3 of these from the Safajiva Siege if you can. If you need some tips and tricks on clearing the Safajiva Siege in just a single run, I will link a video in the top right now, as well as down in the description, on some tips and tricks for clearing Safajiva Siege very quickly in only one run. Now, one final note is if you're on PlayStation, make and use the Adept Stormslinger Light Bowgun, which is from the Horizon Zero Dawn collab. Its special ammo is insane, and it's most definitely the best Thunder Light Bowgun as well. So now that we've touched on elemental light bowguns, we're going to go ahead and look at our raw light bowguns. We again have pretty good variety here. Starting with Sticky 3 Light Bowgun, you'll want a second Aqua Shot. Having Evade Reload and True Spare Shot makes this weapon an absolute joke, and you can farm pretty much everything in the game with it. You'll also want a third Aqua Shot for Pierce 3 Light Bowgun. Now, if you want to do Rapid Fire Pierce 2, then Fatalis' Light Bowgun is very strong. For Spread 2, you might want to use Safajiva's Frost Shot, and for Spread 3, you should go with the Blizzard Gust from Frostfang Barioth, which does have slow reload, or you can go for Safajiva's Drac Shot. In my opinion, don't use normal ammo. It's fun, but it's just not good. If you do want to try it though, I'd recommend trying out Rapid Fire Normal 3 with the Raging Brachydios Light Bowgun. Now that we've touched on Light Bowgun, let's go ahead and look at its larger, more damaging counterpart, Heavy Bowgun. Let's go ahead and get the easy one out of the way. For Pierce 3 and Spread 3, you're going to be using the Vorbuster from Fatalis. You get a massive clip size of 10 for both Spread 3 and Pierce 3 ammos, and coupling this with True Spare Shot, which has a 30% chance to not consume ammo, you'll be reloading roughly once every 13 shots on average. This weapon works great with either the special scope or shield. Hell, you could probably use both and crush pretty much any monster in the game. If you're looking to make the endgame trivial and not hard, this is definitely your weapon of choice. For Sticky 3 Heavy Bowgun, the best is the Demon Lord Beastbuster from Furious Rajang. Again, normal 3 sucks, but if you're gonna do it, use the Vorbuster from Fatalis. Again, same thing as Spread and Pierce, huge clip, huge raw damage, you just can't go wrong. Now for elemental heavy bowguns, this is where it varies a little bit from light bowgun. The Kiar heavy bowguns are absolutely the best here. Alright, so we have made it to the last of the 14 weapons, which is the bow. You've made it through hearing me say Fatalis, Safi, Kiar, and Brachy, Lord knows how many times. Now for bow, raw bow is pretty fun and there are some ways to make it viable. However, bow scales so insanely well with element that I think you're just in general doing a disservice to yourself if you're not using an elementally matched bow. If you do want to try raw bow, you guessed it, try the Fatalis bow. Now for ice, fire, and dragon, you're going to want to use the Kiar bows, but yes, I know, how exciting, it's not all Kiar. For thunder and water, you'll want to use Safi's Bolt Bow and Safi's Aqua Bow, of course with all awakens going for element. So there you have it guys, the best endgame weapons for all 14 weapon types. In conclusion, make all the Fatalis weapons because they are just stupid good, get all the Kiar elemental weapons, and get at least one of each Safajiva light bowgun. I'm sorry guys if I sounded like a broken record by just spamming Kiar and Fatalis, but since the game is done being updated, we really do know that these are the best. If you did find this video helpful guys, be sure to drop a like down below as it's a totally free way to support the channel. If you're new to my channel, new to Monster Hunter, or if you enjoyed this video, do consider subscribing for more Monster Hunter content just like this. And with all that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I wish you all a good day and happy hunting.